Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Loving obeisances unto the Supreme Being Vasudeva, who is everything there is. Janmadhyasya yato anvayadi taratascha artheshu abhigyaswarat tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yat surayah tejo varimridam yatha vinimayo yatratra sargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. We meditate upon the transcendent absolute being from whom springs forth this universe. He is present in all that exists and yet distinct from everything. He is fully conscious and totally independent. He revealed to the first seer Brahma the import of Vedic wisdom. The material creation made of threefold gunas appears in him as though real, like water in a mirage. Being eternally self effulgent, he is ever free of the illusion Maya of the material world. We meditate upon him, the Supreme Being. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shukamukadamritadrava sanyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O devotees who relish a taste for divine love, Bhagavatam is the fully ripened fruit of the wish-yielding tree of Vedas, flowing as immortal nectar from Shuka Brahma Rishi. Go on drinking the sweet nectar day after day. So we are now entering the 15th chapter of the 4th Skandha of Bhagavatam. We are now entering the story of King Prthu. As we saw, King Vena, the wicked king, was killed by the sages after they found him to be extremely evil and inimical to Dharma. And then from his body was first extracted Nishada, and then now Maitreya continues, the powerful sages from his arms, they were able to, through friction, bring out a couple. So it is said that a man and a woman as a couple came out in perfect harmony. These sages who are seers of past, present, and future, who are fully enlightened, they were able to comprehend that this male that has come, he is a partial manifestation of the Supreme Being Hari, and the female that has come is Lakshmi herself, and they have come as a pair. So, seeing this, the sages say that this male manifestation of Sri Hari and the female manifestation of the goddess of beauty and bliss and prosperity, Sri or Lakshmi, who is never disunited from the Supreme Being, have come together and they are here to rule the earth. So we will call him Prthu, the male, and the female will be called as Archi. And Prthu will rule with great splendor far and wide, and Archi will be his consort, who is of great character, with radiant, radiant qualities, with very noble qualities, and she will be a wonderful consort to him on earth. And because of their glorious radiance, they will free the earth of all sins and sufferings. The queen who has come and who is devoted to him completely, who is none other than the goddess of wealth and prosperity, will be inseparable from him. And therefore, the Brahmanas extol Prthu. So, Prthu and Archi have come not as babies but as fully grown, because they came through a mystical process directly from the body of Vena. So the sages there, they extolled Prthu, and as they were doing this, of course, all the divine signs came, all the various divine beings were also glorifying. There was rains in the heaven, showering flowers of water on them, and there was all the divine beings glorifying them. And the sages there, they immediately, because the kingdom is without a king, they immediately installed him, coronated him as the king with the sacred waters of all the holy rivers. They performed the holy ceremony of the abhishekam, or the consecration of the king. And they found that the king, as already mentioned, he has all the marks. He has in his right arm the sign of the mace of the Lord, and in his feet was the lotus. It says, Dakshine haste drishtva chikhnam gadabhratah. He has the sign of the gada, the mace of the Supreme Being Sri Hari, and padayor aravindam cha tamve mene hare khalam. So in the feet, padayor aravindam, the lotus marks were found on the soles of his feet, reminding everyone that he is a manifestation of the Supreme Being Sri Hari, a partial manifestation. And therefore, the Brahmanas, the holy priests, everyone bathed him with holy waters and richly decorated him with various ornaments. And the Queen Archi was also equally decorated, and she was radiant like the fire itself. And all the various divine beings came there, and they all showered them with various gifts, such as a splendid throne of gold, a splendid umbrella over the throne, beautiful fans, and beautiful garlands of flowers, and a wonderful crown, and a very royal scepter. And they were also imparted all the knowledge instantly of the Vedas and all the learning that's necessary. And he was given the Sudarshana Chakra too, the supreme weapon of the Sri Hari, the Supreme Lord Sri Hari. And he was given a very beautiful sword, and he was given various royal horses and a very divine bow by which he can exterminate enemies, a beautiful pair of sandals, very mystical sandals, on which if he places his feet, he can go wherever he wants to go. Celestial flowers, various arts as well. He was imparted all the arts of acting, dancing, music, and so on. So instantly, this King Prthu was not only coronated but was imparted all the external and the internal faculties and skills necessary to be a very pious king. And therefore, the various poets there, they came to sing his praise. They wanted to glorify the king. The king had just seen that the king has just acquired the throne, Prthu. So he naturally objects to being praised. He says, what is the reason to praise me now? I haven't done anything. Where is the ground for praising me? It is not desirable to eulogize someone who has not done anything. When at future date, when we attain distinctions worthy of being heard and spoken, then you may praise us to your heart's fill. But respectable people do not let others praise him, especially when they haven't done anything significant. Also, it is important to only praise the Supreme Being God and not any individual, even the king. Therefore, I would rather that you not praise me right now, who would have himself extolled by poets for qualities which are yet to manifest in him. Such qualities, when they manifest, and then if they are praised, that's one thing. But to be praised even before they are manifested will invite only ridicule. Noble minded people never want them to be praised. They shrink from being praised in public by others for any qualities, and they always attribute all praise only to the Supreme Being. And as such, we are yet unknown in the world. We haven't done anything. There is no reason to celebrate us with songs of praise. So this is how he very humbly, King Prthu, who is a partial manifestation of the Supreme Being, he desists or he discourages the poets from praising him, even though they want to praise him. With this, 15th chapter ends and we enter the 16th chapter. So, despite being desisted by the king, the sages who are endowed with vision of all three past, present, and future tenses, they bless the poets with the future activities of the king. So the king's main objection was that he hasn't manifested any great actions yet, he has just become the king, and therefore there is no ground to praise him. But the sages refute that by giving the vision of the future to the bards and the poets, And therefore, the bards and the poets are now fully equipped to praise him appropriately, and so they glorify the king. They say that we are not able to actually describe your greatness, first of all, because you are a partial manifestation of the Supreme Being who has come through his own Maya. You are a partial manifestation of the Sri Hari. You have been given the name Prthu, and by this name the whole earth will be known. And therefore, we love to enjoy and glorify your deeds, which are like nectar and which are going to spread all across the earth, because then they start glorifying him beautifully. They say, he will, they refer to the king in third person and start singing, and they say he will be the best among those who pursue dharma, the path of righteousness, and he will persuade others to follow dharma as well. So these are all qualities that, by the way, are very indicative of Prthu here, but also of how a pious king has to rule. So these are, in one way, instructions for those who aspire to rule any place, not just a kingdom, but even lead any organization of any kind. They will do good to themselves and to the organization by imbibing these qualities, and these qualities are being praised here. And so it is said that this leader, in this case Prthu, but any good leader, is the one who is best among those who follow dharma, and he who also persuades others to go along the path of dharma. He preserves the various systems of moral and religious life and punishes those who violate them. He takes care of protection and promotion of peace and happiness and prosperity of all the beings of his kingdom, and he replenishes his treasury by collecting revenue when the time is right and giving it out when the time is right. So they give a beautiful example. Just as the sun, it shines bright and collects the water, stores it as water vapor, and then at the right time it releases it back as rain. Similarly, the king, the right king, has to collect taxes when the time is right from the right people, and then release it freely to the right people who deserve it. So it's a very nice metaphor for how the king has to both collect taxes appropriately and give it out appropriately to the deserving. And then they say he is therefore like the sun, powerful and bright and radiant. He is also like the earth in that he will be very kind and compassionate. The earth, even when trampled upon by so many beings, she bestows all benefits upon those who trample upon her. Similarly, the king will be gracious and beneficent to all his subjects, and he will be very forgiving and very broad minded, and he will also, even if people commit offenses, he will first try to bring them to the right way without giving them punishment, and only when absolutely necessary he'll punish them. He will make sure that rains come at the right time and the whole kingdom is flourishing and prosperous and fertile. He is not only radiant like the sun, but he is cool like the moon. He will be very pleasant and pleasing like the moon's light. His ways are inscrutable. His deeds are too deep for thought, and his purpose is always remote for comprehension. So these are very beautiful praises, very poetic in Sanskrit. What they are saying here is the king Prthu, which is who, being a partial manifestation of Sri Hari, will rule in such a way that every deed of his is very deep and cannot be comprehended by thought. His intents and motives are always pure. He protects the wealth of the kingdom properly, and all the qualities and good attributes of magnanimity and generosity are all present in him. He is like the ocean itself, completely self contained. So, in so many beautiful ways, they glorify him. This actually reminds one of how Valmiki glorifies Sri Ram. When we read Ramayana, the very beginning of Ramayana has a sequence of verses that glorify Sri Ram as the best king that there ever is, and he glorifies Ramarajya, the kingdom of Ram, and the qualities of the king Ram in the most poetic and most beautiful way. Valmiki says many verses there. He says, For instance, he says Buddhiman, Nitiman, Vagmi, Shriman, Shatru Nibarhanaha, Vipulamsho Mahabahu, Kambugrivo Mahahanuhu. He says Ram is wise, moral, eloquent, glorious, destroys his enemies with strong arms and very powerful shoulders and very beautiful features. So, similarly, Sri Ram is glorified in so many beautiful verses by Valmiki, and those verses are very poetic and beautiful to read in the very beginning of Ramayana. In a similar way, here in Bhagavatam, in this section, King Prthu is glorified by the sages here and the poets. So they continue the glorification by saying that he is beyond the reach of not only his enemies' arms, but even their thought. They cannot even think about him. He is overwhelming in his power, and when he exercises his power against his enemies, they cannot even stand against him. It is similar to how Ram is said to have, when he is in war, Jata Roshasya Sanyuge, Yasya Bibbati Devascha Jataroshasya Sanyuge. It is said that when he is provoked in war, even the gods cannot withstand his fury. So similarly, here Prthu is said that he is overwhelming in his power, that his enemies cannot withstand him, and he knows everything that goes on in his kingdom, and yet he remains like a witness. He simply remains abiding in his own peaceful self, and he punishes only those who deserves to be punished. Even if it is his own son, he'll punish them if they are guilty, and if one is innocent, even if it's his enemy, he'll spare him. And thereby he says that he will rule the whole earth and he will delight all the subjects, and thereby he will be Raja. So the word Raja, by the way, which is the word in Sanskrit for king, which is found in many Indian, in fact all Indian languages, the very root of that word is given here. It says Ranjayishyati yal lokam ayam atma vicheshtitaihi Atamum Ahu Rajanam Manoranjanakai Praja. So one who pleases his subjects, Praja, with his own efforts and his own works, giving full satisfaction to his subjects in the righteous way, in the way of dharma, he is to be known as Raja or a king. And that's what Prithu is. He is a real meaning of the word king, and therefore he is immovable in his promise and purpose. He never deviates from truth. He is ever abiding according to the Vedas. He knows how to honor others, affectionate and compassionate, and supremely dear to everyone like their own self, and constantly increasing the delight of friends and everyone in the kingdom. And therefore they go on and on like this, very beautifully praising him. And now they also come to give a glimpse into his future, because as we said, the sages have given a glimpse of these qualities are yet to manifest in him, as Prithu himself objected, but the sages have given a vision of the future in which the poets see all these already manifested and what happens in the future. So they say that he is the supreme being manifested in this form, and he is pure spirit, and he has appeared with immense powers, and he is fully realized in his truth, and he protects the whole world by traveling all across the world like the sun goes all around the world. And wherever he goes, all the kings will offer their respects and their obeisances, and in obedience to him, the earth will be like a cow to him. In other words, just as the cow gives milk very obediently, similarly the earth will give whatever is necessary and desirable for the king and the kingdom and the people. He will provide for the livelihood of all the people, and he will, with his irresistible bow, go around the earth, and all enemies of dharma will hide themselves. So he will perform, then they say he will perform 100 horse sacrifices, what is called as Ashwamedha Yajna. And in the last Yajna, Indra, who is the head of all the demigods. He is another demigod, but he is just the king of all the demigods. And Indra, he will steal away the sacrificial horse. So this is being given as a glimpse of what will happen in the future. That Indra, he always does certain things to enhance sometimes, which appears to be mischievous, and it enhances the glory of the Supreme Being. So here also it says Indra will steal away the sacrificial horse. And then another thing they indicate is that in his own garden, in Prithu's garden, the great divinely sagely boy Sanat Kumara will come. So we saw the four sagely boys, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumar will come, and Prithu will honor him, and he will be imparted the wisdom of pure enlightenment that enables everyone, hearing which enables everyone to realize the supreme absolute truth. And Prithu's power and influence are unlimited, and therefore they say that he will be glorified for ages to come, as Bhagavatam is being read and done till today. And as we also have mentioned before, the very word for earth in Sanskrit is Prthvi. Prthvi comes from the king Prthu, and therefore the very name of earth always invokes this king and glorifies him. Such is his power, and therefore they say that his power has no opposition that can withstand him. His burning spirit will destroy all the enemies. He'll be a matchless master of earth, and his glory will be sung for a long time, as it is being done in Bhagavatam today, even whenever it is read, and as the name of earth carries his name. So with this chapter ends, chapter 16. The next few chapters will see some of the episodes of King Prithu's life, and also importantly the teachings of Sanat Kumar, which has been indicated already as the wisdom of the supreme truth that comes through his interaction with King Prithu. With this, we will end this chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.